Have you ever, like, tried to explain what love is, but using only logic?
Yeah.
It's tough, isn't it? You can list all the, the effects of love,
Right.
the feelings it evokes,
Yeah.
but truly defining its essence.
Totally.
That's a whole other challenge.
Yeah.
And it seems the ancient Egyptians were grappling with the same kind of conundrum, not just with, emotions like love, but with the very nature of reality itself.
You've hit the nail on the head there.
Really?
They recognized the limitations of just intellect, of trying to grasp the vastness of the universe solely through reason and logic.
Yeah.
So they developed a different approach.
Okay.
A way of understanding it. They called understanding from the center.
And that's what we're diving into today.
Yeah.
We've got excerpts from Alexander Moriuson's book,
Okay.
La Lumière sur le Royaume,
All right.
which gives us a peek into this unique Egyptian way of knowing.
Right.
It's not about equations or formulas. It's about symbolism, ritual, and a deep dive into the mystical world of ancient Egyptian numerology.
Get ready to see numbers in a whole new light.
Ooh, I like that.
We're not just talking about quantities here.
Right.
For the Egyptians, numbers were like a language, a way to represent the very fabric of creation.
So Morrison throws us right into the deep end.
He does.
With a simple but powerful question. Can we truly define something as common as water?
It's brilliant, isn't it?
It is.
Think about it.
Yeah.
You can describe water.
Right.
It's wet. It flows. It's essential for life.
Yeah.
But defining its true essence.
Right.
That's something else entirely.
Yeah.
And this applies to so much more than just water.
Exactly.
Right.
Like we were just talking about love.
Yep.
Or how about something like time? We measure it, we experience it.
Right.
Can we truly grasp what it is us?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the Egyptians understood this human struggle.
To define.
Right. To truly know the essence of things.
Yeah.
Especially when it came to something as vast and mysterious as the universe or the concept of the divine.
So how did they approach this challenge?
Instead of relying solely on logic, they turned to symbolism and rituals to access a deeper understanding. They believed that symbols, colors, gestures, even silence itself, could guide one closer to the heart of things, closer to that center they were so focused on.
And that brings us to a truly fascinating teaching method that Moriuson describes in his book.
It's not about intellectual debate or analysis.
Right.
It's about direct experience, about quieting the mind and allowing a deeper understanding to emerge.
I'm intrigued, but I need some details. Walk me through this silent lesson day by day. What's happening with this papyrus sheet?
Well, on day one, the priest focuses on the very foundation of creation. Unity, duality, and trinity. One sheet.
Right.
Two faces when folded. Then back to the single sheet representing unity.
Simple, elegant.
Yeah.
It's like they're showing the very essence of manifestation.
Exactly.
Right there with that papyrus sheet.
The division into two.
Right.
And then the three. The first expression of multiplicity.
So how does this numerical unfolding continue? What happens on day two?
On day two, the priest folds the sheet in half, creating two distinct trinities within that original unity. Now we have six faces emerging, but they all still exist within the original sheet, which represents 9.
So they're highlighting the relationship between the one and the many.
Exactly.
It's like those 6 faces, those individual expressions, never lose their connection to the source, to that original unity.
A beautiful observation.
Thanks.
Even as the one divides and diversifies, it remains the underlying source, the encompassing whole.
Right.
It's like looking at a tree. You see the branches, the leaves, but they all stem from that single trunk rooted in the earth.
All right. Okay, this is starting to click.
Great.
But let's keep going. What happens on day 3?
The priest unfolds the papyrus and refolds it. In a different way, revealing the quaternary. That's 4. And the quaternary, which is 5.
4 and 5. Wait a minute. Didn't you say earlier that 3 represents divine ideation?
I did.
What do 4 and 5 symbolize in this unfolding?
You're right on track. Remember, 3 represents the pure idea, the divine spark. Well, 4 symbolizes the materialization of that idea. It's that idea taking shape, becoming tangible.
So we've got the divine idea.
All right.
And then its expression in the material world.
Yeah.
So where does 5 fit into all of this?
5 represents the intelligence that recognizes this process of manifestation. It's like that aha moment when you see the connection between the idea and its physical form.
Okay.
The Egyptians believed that 5 was the number of human intelligence, of our ability to perceive and understand the workings of the universe.
I'm starting to see why the Egyptians were so fascinated by numbers.
We too.
This is so much more than just arithmetic. It's like they're weaving a story of creation, a cosmic drama, using numbers as their language.
And that story continues to unfold over the next 2 days. On day 4, we see the emergence of the second quaternary.
Oh.
That's 8, building upon the first.
So things are getting more complex, more grounded in the material world.
Exactly.
Okay.
8 being double 4 represents a solidification of the material world. Think of it as the foundation becoming stronger, more established.
Okay, I'm following you.
Okay, good.
And on day 5?
Day 5 brings the third quaternary, 16, into the picture.
Wow.
We're seeing a multiplication of forces at play here. The creative energy expanding outward.
It's like that initial spark of creation.
Yes.
That divine idea represented by the number 3 is rippling outward, creating more and more complex forms as it goes.
Beautifully put.
Thanks.
And notice how each step is a doubling of the previous number.
Right.
It's a powerful illustration of how creation expands exponentially.
Yeah.
How complexity builds upon complexity.
But it can't just keep expanding forever, right? Where does this numerical journey ultimately lead?
That's where things get really interesting.
I bet.
On day 6, the priest completely unfolds the papyrus sheet.
Okay.
Returning it to its original unity.
Wow.
All those faces, all those individual expressions collapse back into the one.
So the 10 faces representing the culmination of that numerical unfolding ultimately return to the source.
Precisely.
Wow.
It's a visual reminder that everything, no matter how complex or diverse, ultimately emanates from and returns to a single source.
That's beautiful.
It's like the ebb and flow of the tide.
Yeah.
The cycle of life and death.
Right.
The breath of the universe itself.
Okay, this is blowing my mind.
It is powerful.
I'm seeing numbers everywhere now.
Right.
And they're not just quantities anymore. They're symbols, stories, keys to understanding the mysteries of creation.
That's the beauty of the Egyptian approach.
Yeah.
They saw numbers as more than just tools for counting. They were keys to unlocking a deeper understanding of the universe and our place within it.
So this silent lesson, with its unfolding and refolding of the papyrus sheet, it's not just about memorizing a sequence of numbers, right?
You got it.
It's about experiencing on a visceral level.
Yeah.
The interplay between unity and multiplicity.
Right.
Between the one and the many.
You're getting it.
Okay.
It's about understanding that everything is interconnected. That we are all part of this grand cosmic dance of creation.
Okay, so we've got this amazing numerical unfolding.
We do.
But the lesson isn't over yet. Right. Moriason mentioned something about the symbolism of the winged solar disk.
Yeah.
How does that fit in?
That's right.
Okay.
The winged solar disk, a prevalent image in Egyptian art, often incorporates this numerical progression we've been exploring.
Okay.
The number of wings or feathers depicted on the disk often corresponds to this journey from 1 to 10.
So it's like they're encoding this cosmic story, this understanding of creation, right into their art and symbolism.
It shows just how deeply this concept permeated Egyptian thought.
Wow.
It wasn't just an abstract philosophy.
Right.
It was woven into the fabric of their culture, their art, their rituals.
Yeah.
It was a way of life.
This is mind-blowing stuff.
I know.
But wait, there's more, right?
Yeah.
The priest doesn't stop with the papyrus and the solar disk.
He doesn't.
There's a final crucial element to this silent lesson.
You're right.
Okay.
On the final day, the priest sets aside the papyrus entirely.
Really?
And focuses solely on the solar disk. But instead of drawing or folding, he simply points to the center of the disk.
Whoa, that's powerful. It's like he's saying, forget all the numbers, forget all the symbols.
Right.
The true answer, the ultimate source, lies right here at the center.
You're picking up on the essence of it.
Okay.
This final gesture transcends the purely numerical and delves into the realm of direct experience.
Right.
It's an invitation to go beyond intellectual understanding.
Okay.
And tap into a deeper knowing.
Yeah.
A knowing that comes from the very core of your being.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Right.
What's the deeper meaning behind this gesture, behind this focus on the center?
Yeah.
What were the Egyptians trying to convey?
That's exactly what we'll uncover after a quick break.
Oh.
We'll delve into the heart of understanding from the center.
Okay.
What it means, why it matters,
and
how this ancient Egyptian wisdom might still hold relevance.
Okay.
For us today.
I can't wait. All right, my mind is officially blown wide open.
Really?
This idea that the Egyptians saw numbers as a language, a way to express the very essence of creation.
It is a profound shift in perspective, isn't it?
It really is.
To move beyond seeing numbers as mere quantity.
Right.
And to recognize them as symbols, as archetypes that reflect the underlying patterns of the universe.
Yeah. And that final gesture in the silent lesson, the priest pointing to the center of the solar disk.
Yeah.
Like, it gave me chills.
I bet.
Like he was revealing the ultimate secret.
Right.
The key to unlocking the whole mystery.
It's a powerful moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
It brings us to the heart of what the Egyptians called understanding from the center.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
Yeah.
What exactly does it mean to understand from the center?
It's about recognizing that there's a source, a core, a heart to everything that exists.
Right.
It's not something you can grasp intellectually.
Okay.
It's something you experience, something you feel.
So it's less about accumulating knowledge and more about cultivating a certain way of being, way of perceiving reality.
Precisely.
Wow.
It's about shifting your perspective.
Okay.
Moving from a place of separation to a place of unity. It's about seeing the interconnectedness of all things.
Right.
Recognizing that we are all part of this grand cosmic dance of creation.
Okay, I'm starting to get a glimpse of this.
Yeah.
But I need a little more to hold on to.
Okay.
What are some practical ways that we can cultivate this understanding from the center in our own lives?
Well, think about that silent lesson.
Okay.
The priest didn't start with complex theories or lectures.
Right.
He started with a simple sheet of papyrus with direct experience.
Yeah.
And that's a great place for us to begin, too.
So it's about slowing down, getting out of our heads.
Yes.
And really paying attention to the world around us.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about noticing the patterns, the rhythms, the interconnectedness that's woven into the fabric of everyday life.
Yeah.
It's about cultivating a sense of awe and wonder.
Right.
Like a child seeing the world for the first time.
I love that.
Me too.
It's like we need to unlearn our habitual ways of seeing the world and tap into a more intuitive, more childlike way of knowing.
And that can be a challenge.
Okay.
Especially in a world that often values logic and reason above all else.
Right.
But the Egyptians believed that this intuitive knowing, this understanding from the center, was essential.
Yeah.
Not just for spiritual growth, but for any truly theurgic practice.
Hold on, theurgic.
Yeah.
Now, there's a word I haven't heard before.
That's a good one.
Break that down for me. What does that even mean?
Good catch.
Thanks. Theurgy for the Egyptians was the art of aligning oneself with the divine source in order to create positive change in the world.
So it's about more than just contemplation. It's about action.
Yes.
About using this understanding to make a real difference.
Exactly.
Wow.
The Egyptians believed that by aligning themselves with the divine center, they could tap into its power and influence the world around them.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it also raises some questions.
Like what?
Like, how do we ensure that this power is used for good?
That's a good question. And not for selfish or harmful purposes.
That's where the Egyptian emphasis on inner transformation comes into play.
Okay.
They believed that true spiritual power could only be wielded by those who had undergone a profound inner purification.
So it's like the saying, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Instead of it being an external set of rules, it's more about an internal alignment, an ethical framework woven into the very fabric of your being.
Beautifully put.
Thanks.
The Egyptians believed that the path of spiritual development, the journey towards understanding from the center, naturally leads to an embodiment of virtues like compassion, wisdom, and justice.
So it's not about forcing yourself to be good.
Right.
It's about a transformation of consciousness that naturally brings about a more ethical way of being in the world.
Precisely. And that's why the Egyptians placed so much emphasis on those virtues.
Right.
Seeing them as essential for anyone seeking to wield true power.
This is so fascinating.
It is.
Okay, so we've explored the concept of understanding from the center.
We have.
And its connection to the liturgy.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I want to circle back to the numbers themselves.
Okay.
We touched on the meaning of 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
But what about the rest of those numbers that unfolded from the papyrus sheet?
Yeah.
What significance did they hold for the Egyptians?
Yes. Each number in that sequence held a specific meaning, a unique role in the cosmic drama.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about 7 being a recurring number?
Right.
In various cultures and traditions?
Yeah.
Well, for the Egyptians, 7 represented the organized universe, the harmonious interplay of the divine and the material.
7, the number of days in the week, the chakras,
right.
The colors of the rainbow.
Right.
It does seem to pop up everywhere.
It's as though it points to some fundamental truth.
Right.
About the structure of reality.
Yeah.
Now, as we move further down the line, we come to 8.
Right.
Being double 4, 8 represents a strengthening. A solidification of the material world.
So it's like those foundations we talked about earlier are becoming even more established.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we arrive at 9, which the Egyptians saw as a completion of a cycle.
Right.
Remember, it's 3 times 3.
Yeah.
A culmination of the divine force expressing itself through 3 levels of manifestation.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like a full circle, a sense of completion.
Right.
And then we reach 10, the final number before returning to unity.
10 represents the culmination, the fullness of manifestation, the ultimate realization of the one's potential.
Wow.
It's like reaching the mountaintop.
Right.
You've climbed to the peak of creation.
But the journey doesn't end there, right?
You're right.
Okay.
It's not a linear progression, but a cycle. Now you have to descend, return to the valley.
Right.
Back to the source.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful image, don't you think?
Absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
It's like a cosmic breath expanding outwards and then contracting back to its origin.
A perfect analogy.
Thanks.
And this brings us back to that central point.
Right.
Quite literally, of the final day's lesson. The priest, abandoning the papyrus, simply points to the center of the solar disk.
It's such a simple gesture, yet so profound.
Because it signifies the essence of the entire lesson.
Right.
It's a direct transmission beyond words or symbols.
Okay.
It's saying, look within the source, the answer.
Yeah.
It's not out there. It's right here at the center of your being.
It's like that saying, the kingdom of God is within you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the Egyptians believed that by aligning ourselves with this center, with this source of creation, we could not only understand the universe, but also tap into its power.
Yeah.
We could become co-creators.
Wow.
Manifesting our own reality in alignment with the divine will.
Now that's a concept worth pondering.
It is.
But it also raises a question. How do we actually do that? How do we access this understanding from the center? In our own lives?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And it's a question that we'll continue to explore.
All right.
We'll delve into some practical techniques and insights from the Egyptian tradition that might help us on this journey.
Okay.
Toward understanding from the center.
So we've been on this incredible journey.
We have.
Exploring ancient Egyptian numerology and this concept of understanding from the center.
It's a powerful idea, isn't it?
It really is.
This shift from seeing the world as a collection of separate objects to recognizing the underlying unity that connects everything.
Exactly. And we were just talking about how the Egyptians believed this understanding wasn't just a philosophical concept. But a key to unlocking the potential of Theriji.
Right, the art of aligning oneself with the divine source to create positive change in the world.
But, you know, it makes you wonder, if this whole system was so intertwined with their magical practices, were they seeking knowledge purely for the sake of knowledge? Or was there always an element of wanting to harness that knowledge for practical purposes?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's one that highlights the importance of the Egyptian emphasis on inner transformation.
Okay.
They believed that true spiritual power could only be wielded responsibly by those who had undergone a profound inner purification.
So it's not just about having the knowledge or the techniques.
It's not.
But about cultivating the right kind of character.
Right.
The right kind of heart.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It wasn't about forcing oneself to be good.
Right.
But about a transformation of consciousness that naturally brought about a more ethical way of being in the world.
That's a really interesting perspective.
Yeah.
It's like the path itself, the journey towards understanding from the center is what cultivates the qualities necessary to wield power responsibly.
And that path, as we've seen in the silent lesson, is not a straightforward linear process. It's a journey of unfolding and returning. Of expanding outwards into multiplicity and then contracting back to the source.
Like that cosmic breath we talked about earlier. Yes. This constant interplay between the one and the many.
And it's a journey that each of us undertakes.
Wow.
Whether we're consciously aware of it or not. Every experience, every interaction is an opportunity to move closer to that center. To align ourselves with the divine source that flows through all things.
This whole concept is so different from the way
it is.
We're often taught to approach knowledge in the modern world.
I agree.
It's less about accumulating facts and more about cultivating a certain way of being.
A certain way of perceiving reality.
It's a shift from a purely intellectual understanding to a more holistic, intuitive way of knowing. It's about engaging not just our minds, but also our hearts, our intuition, our very being.
It makes you wonder.
What's that?
If we were to embrace this approach, how might it change the way we approach things like science?
Interesting.
Art, even politics.
That's a fascinating question.
Isn't it?
Imagine a world where knowledge wasn't seen as something separate from ourselves, something to be dissected and analyzed, but rather as an expression of the interconnectedness of all things.
It would be a world where the pursuit of knowledge wouldn't be driven by ego or the desire for control, but by a deep reverence for the mystery of existence.
Yes.
And a desire to act in harmony with the web of life.
It's a beautiful vision.
It is.
And one that the ancient Egyptians, with their profound understanding of numerology and symbolism, were striving towards. Well, dear listeners, as we reach the end of this deep dive, I think we've all gained a new appreciation for the depth and wisdom.
I hope so.
Of the ancient Egyptian worldview.
They offer us a different lens through which to view the world. And our place within it. A lens that emphasizes interconnectedness. Inner transformation and the power of understanding from the center.
And who knows, maybe by exploring these ancient teachings, we can start to see those same patterns, those same universal truths. Reflected in our own lives and in the world around us.
Perhaps you'll find, as the Egyptians did, that the universe is not a cold, indifferent void, but a living tapestry woven with meaning and purpose.
And that each of us at our core is a spark of the divine, capable of not only understanding, but also shaping the world around us.
So as we wrap up this episode, we invite you to keep exploring. Keep questioning. And keep that sense of wonder alive.
Until next time, keep diving deep. And keep seeking that understanding from the center